The closet is sliding open on its own. A boy with blood on his face in the hallway.
Yes, I could actually feel it, and I opened my eyes and nobody there, and I was scared.
Whatever was there drove my parents apart. Something negative was surrounding me. They wanted to attack. Hi darlings, it's me, Christine D'Amour. So let me just start off by saying that all of the events and activity that occurred at my home was experienced by everyone that lived there, from my mom to my two younger sisters, and eventually my extremely disbelieving and realist father. Whatever was in our home was extremely active that even family members who stayed there for a short period of time never wanted to be left alone there. Eventually it got so bad that I had to contact paranormal investigators to come to the house and investigate. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you the emails that were actually exchanged between the paranormal investigators and I. I'm also going to be showing you actual photos of my home so I can show you exactly where all this paranormal activity took place. And in this video, I'm actually going to be calling my mom and my aunt so that they can kind of repeat their side of what they remember about living at this house, just so that you guys can hear it from another source besides myself. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on the story. In 2005, my daughter Lexini had just turned a year old, and Lexini and I ended up moving out of my parents' house and in with Chris and his parents. That same year, my parents decided that they wanted to purchase a brand new home in a community called Wild Wings in Woodland, California. When my parents bought the house, it was very exciting because it was the first time that they would be the original first owners of any home. Even though I wasn't technically going to be living there, my parents still set up one of the rooms for myself with all of the stuff from my old room. So once my parents and my sisters got settled in, Chris, Lexini, and I would make frequent trips over there just to go over for dinner or just to hang out. And sometimes we would even spend the night there. So my sister Angela, who was 6 at the time, was actually the first one to experience something. I was with Chris and Lex playing darts in the game room upstairs, and Angela was just in her room coloring down the hallway. I really had to use the bathroom, so I ended up walking down the hallway to the bathroom that was right next to Angela's room. And as I turn into the bathroom, my sister runs at me screaming with this look on her face, so terrified, like she had just seen something that scared the shit out of her. So I ask her, what's wrong? And she says, the closet just opened by itself. Very concerned, I go into the room with her and I ask her to tell me exactly what she saw. The closet in her room has one of those mirrored sliding double doors, and she showed me that she was sitting on the floor on the opposite end of the room. Her coloring book and her markers were still on the floor where she left it, and as she was just sitting on the floor coloring in her book, she starts hearing the wheels of the closet door turning. And when she looks up, the closet is sliding open on its own. From then on, once in a while when we would come over, she would tell me that she started seeing a boy with blood on his face in the hallway, and that when she would see him, he would walk back into one of the rooms. This concerned me so much because my parents didn't own a single horror movie in the house. They chose not to have cable, and this was a time when YouTube and the internet wasn't really used and accessible to kids their age. So it was definitely hard to say that this was just her imagination. When you think, how can a kid pull something into their mind like that when they've only been exposed to Kim Possible and Finding Nemo? Over the next couple of years, it started to get worse. So my grandma had just passed away during this time, and my mom, my dad, and my sisters had to all fly to the Philippines to attend her funeral. So a couple of weeks pass and I get a call from my mom letting me know that they had just arrived back home. And here I am, ready to ask them how their trip was. And she says, did you guys come in the house while we were gone? Keep in mind, my parents lived 45 minutes away from us at this time, so there would be no reason for us to make this long drive, especially if my parents and my sisters weren't even home. So I tell my mom, no, we never went there. Why? And she says, because I cleaned the entire house before we left, and when we came back, all of the toys were scattered all over the bed in a circle. What? And I'm freaking out on the other end, like, what? And that is not all that happened. Come to find out, before my parents and my sisters had left for the airport that day, my sister Angela had been playing in the game room and she had built a couple of toy structures out of Legos. And when they got back, they found that all the structures that my sister had built had been knocked over and all of the Legos had been pieced apart and scattered all over the room. So a day or two after this, Chris, Lexi, and I come back over to my parents' house to visit, and I immediately go upstairs to see what my sisters are up to. And I noticed that my other sister, Alex's room, had been empty because my parents had moved Alex's room out of her room and into Angela's room. And this was really weird because my sister loved her room. This was the first time that she ever got to decorate it and paint it and buy new curtains and new ornaments for the walls. My sister Alex is also really an introvert, so she likes her own space and being alone. So this was really weird that she now was sharing a room with my sister. So I asked my sister Alex, hey, why did you move your bed? And she just told me that she was scared to sleep by herself. Even though now she's a 17-year-old senior in high school, I tried bringing it up and asking her what she was scared of in that room, and she says that she doesn't want to talk about it. It didn't honestly dawn upon me that my parents' home could be severely haunted until my mom and my dad physically encountered something firsthand. So my mom and my dad had been sleeping in one Saturday morning, and my mom was in that state between still being asleep but on the edge of waking up. And at the foot of the bed, my mom starts feeling a hand playing with her feet. So she woke up, she sat up, and she realized that she must have been dreaming. So my mom laid back down with my dad still sleeping right next to her. And a few minutes later, she starts feeling an actual finger vigorously poking at her leg. So my mom thought this was just my sisters playing a joke on her. So she sat up and yelled, "Alex, Angela!" She looked at the edge of the bed and nobody was there. So my mom frantically woke my dad up and told him about how she felt this hand touching her and describing the actual pressure from a finger pushing at her leg vigorously. So he starts scanning around the room and at the edge of the bed, and then they hear this loud crash sound to their right. So they look over to the right toward the doorway of their room, and they see the blinds in the library now swaying vigorously back and forth, as if something had just smacked their hand right across it. The blinds didn't start slowing down as if it were just hit once. It continued moving back and forth as if somebody was just standing there brushing the blinds back and forth with their hand. And my mom and dad continued sitting in bed watching this for the next 5 minutes. My mom and dad told me this the next time I came over. I was in shock because of all people to hear my dad telling me this, because my dad is a total realist. He's an engineer and super sciencey. He never jumps to conclusion. And with him, it's almost annoying how much he analyzes and picks apart information. So because of his skeptic nature, and to hear my dad, a 50-year-old man, for the first time explain his paranormal experience to me, and just to hear the curiosity mixed with terror that was in his voice, I know what happened. I think that this is actually a good time to take a break from the story and give my mom a call.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey, honey, how are you?
Good. I wanted to ask you about the haunted house again. Can you explain your situation in the bed again?
You know that this room is always fixed, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's always clutter-free, and the bed sheets is just good. And we would come back, comforters on our bed would be like crumbled, and those little object toys that was in a closet in there, in a toy box, would be on top of the bed. So I called you and asked you if you've been in the house, and you would say, "How can we? We don't have keys for the house." But I never believed you at that time. So.
What about the time when you felt something at your feet?
Oh, that one. And I was awakened by this dream that somebody was poking me on my leg, and I thought it was just a dream. And then I opened my eyes. You know, I closed my eyes again. 30 minutes later, I really felt it like 6 times poking on my legs. So I sat up on my bed and looked down on the foot of my bed on the floor. I thought it was Alex, and there was nothing there, and no kids walked out of the room. I was just scared. And I woke your dad up. Honey, somebody was poking on my leg.
And you can actually feel that it was like
yes,
a
I could
finger.
actually feel it, and I opened my eyes and nobody there, and I was scared. I heard these lines like too loud, like somebody was like swinging it, a bat, baseball bat into it. And we both could hear that noise, and we looked at each other and looking at the blinds, and I said, "What is that?" He said, "I don't know." And I said, "Is the aircon on?" He said, "No." It was not really the wind that's blowing it, like from the aircon, because it was so loud. It was like a hand swinging into it or something repeatedly. So we're like looking at each other because the noise was so loud. That was so weird. Of course, if we understand the Bible that Satan has higher power than us, and however he possessed the souls that are stuck down here to do stupid things like that cannot ascend to heaven. They're stuck down here to do things like that, and they have some kind of power like that.
From then on, too many things just started happening to people in front of their eyes. From cabinets and doors slamming open and shut, to the feeling of dread when you walk into the house. Even though there was so much paranormal activity that was happening at my parents' house, I have to say that one of the most dreadful, awful feelings that I have ever experienced in my life was one day I was walking into the kitchen and I just had this sense of impending doom, as if something negative was surrounding me, and it almost felt like they wanted to attack. Okay, so I don't know what happened to the sound after this, but during editing, the sound of my video started to have a buzzing sound until the very end. I don't know why or how. I mean, you could just be standing in the room by yourself and something would move in front of your eyes. It got to the point where it was just hard for me to want to go there and visit my family because of this. And it's like, even if you weren't experiencing something physically moving, if you weren't experiencing the paranormal activity, it was the feeling that you got from being there. Whatever this feeling was, it was strong enough that my parents didn't want to have the lights out at night. You couldn't even be there at night without having to turn every single light on in the house, because you're already constantly feeling like you're being watched. But just to have that feeling like you're being watched in the dark, I mean, to live somewhere that you own and to have that feeling every day, that's not okay. There was literally way too much disturbances going on inside of my parents' home, so I decided to reach out to a paranormal investigator. So I reached out to a paranormal research group in Sacramento, California, and as you can see from the email that I sent them, this was in 2007, and at the point that I ended up emailing the paranormal research group, there had been numerous reports from people not just in my family, people not just living there, but now activity was actually being reported by my aunts and by my cousins, and it was just getting way out of hand. And eventually we found out that the paranormal investigators needed to conduct an overnight stay, and my parents weren't too happy or pleased with the idea of strangers staying in our home overnight, while my parents had to take my sisters to a hotel room. So long story short, I actually did a lot of extensive research on the land that was there, because as you guys know, as I said in the beginning of this video, the house and the whole entire community was built in a land that was completely empty in the middle of nowhere. So the history on that land is actually quite interesting. I'm not sure if the activity that was experienced at my parents' home had to do with the land. I did find some bone-chilling information about where the Wild Wings community is built now and how they got away with this. I have no idea. Long story short, my parents ended up moving out. And I feel like whatever was there drove my parents apart. Like I said at the beginning of this video, my parents were in really good spirits moving there. There was nothing wrong between my parents, but somehow after living in this house and the duration that they were there, their relationship just went downhill. And I just have a strong feeling that it had to do with whatever energy was there. I have no label for it. There's no way that I can ever know. And I don't want to go as far as to saying that it was evil, because we all know what that would mean. There's a ton more stories to that, and if you guys are interested in hearing more about my parents' house, go ahead and let me know down in the comments below. As you can see from me telling you this, it's just bringing a lot of post-traumatic stress in me, because that feeling was so real, and you almost don't want to acknowledge that it's real. What happened to everybody, it's just the confirmation that you don't want. Like I said, a lot more scary stuff ended up happening at my parents' house, and if you guys want to hear all of that, I'll make another video. I know Chris has been wanting to share something really horrific that happened to him. Whew, let's just try to turn this into some positivity right now. Well, alright my darlings, thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, go ahead and please give it a like and comment down below what videos you would like to see next on my channel. And if you guys want to see more Storytime videos, go ahead and comment down below which Storytime you guys want to see the most. And the most requested one I will definitely be making sooner than later, so go ahead and leave that comment down below. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel by hitting the red button down below and hit the notifications button button right next to that as well so you can be notified as soon as I upload these crazy, scary storytime videos and all the other videos on my channel. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media. All of my links listed down below as well. As always, I love you guys very much, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, darlings. Mwah.